We are live. I see you have a 30-second countdown here. I'm not going to use that.
No, that's just in case you're saying something important. If you use a 30-second countdown, by the time everything buffers, it eliminates that.
We have nothing important to say.
We're talking about Pria. How important can it be?
All right. I'm waiting for that 30-second mark up there. And thus begins another podcast. Oh, yay. As we walk through
Hi, everybody.
Orland's failure joke. Okay, welcome to whatever. You're going to call it something else in here, so I won't even say anything. Welcome to this
You
Orville
can say it. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to put my intro on the front of whatever it is we record.
So this is a weird show because I'm using it as a podcast. You're using it as a video show. Welcome to LIW, the Orville review, episode 5 for 105, Pria. We're here. I'm Phoenix West.
I'm Adam Wilcox, Captain Adam Wilcox.
Damn right. I've changed my name to the episodes we're doing today. So it's Pria Krill. That's an I. Okay, I thought it was an L. It must have fucked up. I don't know. I fucked up somewhere along the line. Anyway, let's talk about this episode, shall we?
Okay.
And that's the end of the episode. I texted you earlier. I go, I really enjoyed one of these episodes.
This is not one of them, for me, at least.
There's also Pria.
Yeah.
Which we had to talk about. First of all, we already mentioned in the show how they're relying way too much on stuff we know nowadays. And this couldn't be more evident than the opening when they're all watching the Seinfeld Junior Mint scene. When they're doing the surgery and they flips out of the box and lands
on the bridge of the fucking starship.
Yes.
And not in the officer's lounge, not like, in their whatever they call 10 forward on this ship. On the fucking bridge where you should be like monitoring activity and always be alert. And you know what I'm saying? Like, no, we're just going to watch Seinfeld on the bridge because episode needs us to set up a joke. A painful joke that's going to probably try to pay off something later. Doesn't really matter.
It sets it up in the worst possible way because they watch it and they go, ha ha. And Isaac is like, I do not get it. It is the pain of others. That is sadism. And instead of being like, it's fake, that's why it's funny, or something, they're like, no. When someone gets kicked in the nuts, the balls, oh, it's so funny. The balls are funny. Ball jokes. And Isaac's like, I just don't get it. And so they set up that they're going to do, Scott Grimes is going to do, who's Malloy, is going to do a prank on him. And that prank ends up being...
fucking hate Scott Grimes in this episode. I hate him in this episode. I really do. This is the part where I was like, this is like my new least favorite character.
He's great in the next episode, though.
Yeah.
But this one, I'm not going to disagree with you. I love Scott Grimes, only because I love American Dad so much.
Try to think of it in terms of when I first watched this. I'm like, I don't know about this show. All I know is that I don't like this character.
Yeah.
Like, I liked him in the first pilot, and then he's, like, starting to annoy me a lot.
He ends up having to do all the comedy, him and his partner there, which I don't remember his name, Lamar.
You're never going to remember the name Lamar, so it's pointless for me to even try to say it again. Lamar, yeah.
Some shows I'm really good with names.
I'm here to remind you of these things. It's Lamar.
I got IMDb pulled up.
There you go.
But anyway, the prank that he pulls on Isaac, that Malloy pulls on Isaac, is actually funny for me. This one actually worked because he turns around and he has like these like giant Mr. Potato Head things on his face.
I'm glad that one worked for you because I was wondering it because I did genuinely chuckle when he walked out on the bridge and had that going on, and they had it just long enough before they said anything to where I had time to laugh.
Yeah,
okay,
it's set up well, but the problem is I don't like the setup with the practical joke stuff. But when you see it, it's pretty funny because his head is perfect for it. He's got all the little gizmos from the Mr. Potato Head. Only they're like twice the size, and I was like, wait, they can just print whatever they want. So I guess it works. So that logic.
And since you have IMDb pulled up, who wrote this one again?
Seth MacFarlane.
Okay, that figures. That makes more sense. This is a very Seth MacFarlane episode.
Yeah. I was looking at the production order earlier on my phone while I was waiting, and the only one that's out of order really is the last episode we did. The if the stars should whatever
Mm-hmm.
if the stars should appear, I think it's called.
We
That's the
liked
only one
that
that's
one.
supposed to
Yeah.
be later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the setup is that, and let me just say the payoff to that, and then if you want, you can get to the Pria stuff because that's where I lose interest. But the payoff is he goes, it's funny because you didn't expect it, and Isaac mentions that he didn't see out that thing. Lamar's like, why didn't you see that? And he's like, oh, he has like a sensory thing where he doesn't actually have vision or anything.
He doesn't
like
have traditional human eyes. He basically sees with sensors. So the eyes are just there as an aesthetic.
And that line kind of serves something later that he can do things that you don't expect, and he's a robot. Not that you need reminding of that, but it does kind of pay off later with what he does at the end. But Malloy's like, you got to do something unexpected something funny when I least expect it. And then Malloy wakes up in the morning, his alarm goes off, and he grabs it, and then he goes to step out of the bed, and he falls. His leg is gone. He hobbles over. When he yells at Isaac about his leg, he sounds exactly like Steve from American Dad. And I was like, sounds exactly like him.
Steve from American Dad.
Yeah. And then he yells at him for taking his leg in the night, calls him a psychopath. And
yeah, he took his leg off in his sleep. He anesthetized him, took his leg off. Haha, you didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't get the joke because he doesn't laugh. He's like, so I have fulfilled my obligation to play the practical joke on you. It's not funny. I did not laugh once. And I'm like, all of that effort to set that up. And it's not even funny. And my thing is had this been a more cleverly written episode, obviously, for you can tell, I'm not crazy about this episode. And it's kind of a bummer because I am a huge fan of Charlize Theron. Okay, she's absolutely wasted in this part. She still looks great, but that's not why I'm not going to give her a high points just because she looks good. Okay, because if that's the case, every episode would get a 10 because Kelly's fucking hot too. So
I take Charlize Theron even in Monster. I take her then because I know what's under that. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny a thing about Monster. I don't want to get too far off topic, but you want to talk about the king of awkward first date movies?
Yeah.
Me and a date went to go see Monster, and that should have been my first sign to get the fuck out.
Was it your choice or hers?
It was hers. It was not my choice. I didn't really know who Charlize Theron was at the time. I came to admire her later after other movies past Monster. But I definitely took notice of her because I'm like, I didn't care for that movie, but hey, she was acting the hell off in that. She's great. And I looked her up online. And I got home like, that was her? Holy shit! Because I had seen the Italian Job long ago, but her character wasn't really all that important in that movie, and it just didn't stick with me as to who that was. So I'm like, wow, So I've seen her in other things since where she's fantastic. But
the first thing I saw her was Devil's Advocate, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one. She's good in that. So that's one. But if this been a more cleverly written episode, the whole thing with the practical joke would have been like the source of the plot of this episode. Like they would have played a practical joke to get out of the jam that they were in. Like Isaac would have figured out what a joke actually is.
He kind of does.
Played it. They kind of do, but not really.
They didn't mention to that's kind of saying that's why they're doing that with Isaac there.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't translate into the ending that we get, which we'll get to.
No.
It could have. It just wasn't.
There's an ending, and it's lame as fuck, but we'll get to that. But yeah, the leg that he stowed, he hid the leg. He's like, I've hidden the leg. And he's like, it'd be faster for me to just grow one. Now, immediately right there is where I have the fucking problem. Ed Mercer is the captain of the ship. Isaac, where's the fucking leg? I want it right now. I want you to go get the fucking leg and take it to sickbay right fucking now.
That's not.
But see, then they can't have the funny thing where he's regrowing a little leg, which that shit was already done in Deadpool. Yeah. That joke's not funny anymore. Just watching somebody with a little leg hanging out of his pants is not
before
funny.
Deadpool, ironically enough, American Dad did it.
So now you're literally borrowing from your own jokes.
Yeah. He tries to jump. He like gets his legs cut off, and Roger the alien puts this growing stuff on him, and then he tries to jump over a soda can, Mr. Pipkin.
And there's a scene that happens later in the show, and as this show does, it likes to break up tension by putting little jokes in between. And there's not really any tension in this episode to speak of, but there's a moment that's supposed to be semi-serious, and the leg just kind of falls through somebody's ceiling and lands on a table. And like, oh, yes. that, you know.
And they go, never mind about that.
Awkward.
Do you want to set
humor,
up
dude.
Priya's intro?
Sure, yeah. So basically, they answer a distress signal. You know, routine thing after we see the whole Seinfeld Junior Mint bullshit thing on the bridge. They intercept a distress signal. Ship in distress. It's Charlize Theron. And of course, you know, we got to make a joke. Grimes is he says, "Oh, we got to save her because she's definitely hot." You know, I'm like, thanks for reminding us that, Grimes. You know, I'm glad you're here to tell us these things, Captain Obvious. But you know, so they rescue her, and she hits it off with Ed Mercer a little bit, and there's a little bit of jealousy between Kelly and. Obviously, there's a little bit of jealousy between Kelly and Pria because he's hitting it off with her, and she does a little bit of investigating, probably motivated by jealousy. Finds out that she's not part of the mining guild that she claims that she's a part of. So immediately we know that there's something nefarious about her.
She has a good point, though, where Kelly says, maybe there's a little jealousy, but I'm also, this is what we're supposed to do. Like,
doing my job. Yeah.
She's walking around the ship just at, free will. Let's find out who she is.
And they're showing her everything. They may as well have just handed her a gun and said, "Hey, you want to try out one of these phaser pistols here?" You know, I mean, it gets to be about that stupid. And of course, this is where the episode really starts falling apart for me. Yes, Charlize Theron is an attractive woman, but so is Kelly. Kelly's just as attractive as Charlize Theron, and I'm a huge Charlize Theron fan. Yeah. So we have the blonde on the ship, the big fancy actress that's showed up on the show. I would expect this part to be played by somebody like Lucy Lawless, not necessarily Charlize Theron, because Lucy Lawless is in every TV show. She makes a cameo in almost every TV show there is, and that's great because I love Lucy Lawless, but this is like more her league, whereas Charlize Theron in a comedy doesn't work. It just doesn't work, okay? But that's neither here nor there.
I was watching this episode, and my girlfriend walks into the room, and she's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "The Orville." She's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Oh, we do a show about it." And then she sees Charlize Theron show up, and she's like, "Why is she in this?" I'm like, "She's friends with Seth because they did that awful Million Ways to Die in the West movie together."
Oh.
And that's why I don't know why she's here either. It's just, I don't even think she's miscast. I just think I don't know what would interest her because there's nothing funny for her to do. There's nothing interesting for her to do. Why is she?
And her character is not very interesting either because it's like we know there's something nefarious about her. Obviously, there should be. But what I was getting to is that immediately, every time she walks into a room, everybody's falling over her and drooling out of the fucking side of their mouth like a bunch of fucking baboons. And it's like, this is supposed to be a military installation, right? Like these are supposed to be officers. Like I get it. This is like probably the worst fucking ship in the in the whatever we decided to call it. This particular.
Oh, I already forgot.
I've already forgotten. It's not important. Okay, Union or whatever they call it. They don't call it the Federation. Whatever their version of the Federation is, but yeah, these guys are just slobbering all over themselves whenever she walks into a room, and it gets pretty annoying like really fast. Okay, and come to find out, she actually is a thief and also a time traveler, and these are two things. Well, for one, the time travel thing really pisses me off because I hate it when they introduce this time travel shit into these sci-fi shows, especially this early on, because time travel in science fiction causes so many fucking problems, and unless you're called Doctor Who, you probably just ought not even fuck with it. But Star Trek does, and Brandon Braga definitely does. But again, this is written by Seth MacFarlane, so it doesn't need to be there, except that it is. And the point of it is, and this is the stupidest fucking plot I've ever heard of in my entire life, the point is, they died in an accident Like they went into like some kind of an asteroid field or something like that, and they
A
couldn't
bad
get
CGI bubble thing.
yeah, some kind of like bubble anomaly of bullshit fucking science anomaly that comes out of nowhere. They're supposed to die in this, and Priya's gig is she goes back in time to accidents and causes the accident not to happen, and then salvages the something from the accident, like the ship. In this case, she wants the ship, and then she's going to take it back to her time and sell it to the
Go
highest
through a
bidder.
wormhole, go to 2900 something, and sell it. I have
What
a
the
question.
fuck?
Question about the time travel.
Please do, because we're going to be on this for a while.
She says you're supposed to all be dead. The whole ship's supposed to be blown up by this bubble thing. She saves them, and that's her plot. But they wouldn't have been there if she hadn't needed them to be there. They went and saved her, and then he says, we're going to reroute our course and go through here. So they wouldn't have been there and had to go through this thing unless she was there. None of it makes any sense. The time travel, no. She's got to be lying.
Well, that's a good point, because I didn't think of that one, because I was hung up on the idea like, well, if you can travel through time, why don't you just travel back to dry dock when there's like probably a skeleton crew on board and fucking steal it then? Like, what difference does it fucking make? So if you stole it then, like, the accident wouldn't happen and the ship wouldn't be famous? This plot makes no fucking sense to me at all. It's asinine to the point of it annoys me.
Yeah. Unless, no, because that didn't make any sense either. No, there's no way it makes any sense. I don't
There's no way it makes any fucking sense. Because, yeah, she goes back in time, stops the accident from happening, and then she immediately takes the crew and the ship to her timeline and just lets the crew go. They can live their life out in the 29th century or whatever the fuck it is that she comes from. Like, well, that's kind of lame, you know. I'm like, this is your gig, you know.
Like, well, you're supposed to be dead.
And that's it. That's as far as they go with this. And I'm like, this is really what we're doing here. And she has some kind of a MacGuffin that she plants in the fucking engineering room that
she
keeps
kept
the
under
ship.
her mattress. What fucking?
Yeah.
She's like a 12-year-old boy in a spank mag. Like, why under your mattress, bitch? Right. So dumb.
She's a time traveler from the future. She's got technology built into her wrist. I thought that was kind of cool. Just the whole concept of.
But it's 1 second.
Because I love the idea of science fiction shows where you integrate technology with human, but like actual organic matter, just any kind of stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Maybe you would like season 3 of Westworld, because that's what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, augments. So she's augmented, basically. She's augmented. She has, but the thing is, like you said, she has the technology to control the MacGuffin in her arm, but the actual MacGuffin itself, you can't hide it anywhere. Like, she couldn't even keep it in her pocket.
Yeah, how about a fucking pocket, lady?
It's stupid. It's a stupid plot. It's just things. It's the worst case of things happening because plot needs them to I've ever seen, and it starts right from the get go and just keeps on going throughout the entire episode whatsoever. As much as I love Charlize Theron as an actress, she's wasted in this episode. She looks great. She's got a great outfit and everything, but doesn't need to be there. This one's like a 5 for me. I can't give it anything higher because it irritates me, this episode. It doesn't do anything for any of the crew. Doesn't develop them as characters. The awkward humor is really an annoyance in this one. It's intrusive to any kind of plot that you think it has, but it doesn't have much plot to go with. And this is like the fifth episode that we're on here. This is something you should probably have gotten out of the way a little sooner. You know what I mean?
Like,
so I don't know. Maybe they're struggling with the. But I love that hairstyle though. It's probably a wig, because this is probably not too long after she did Fury Road, so she was probably bald when she filmed this. Probably put a wig on her. And by the way, Fury Road, her performance in I fucking loved her in Fury Road. She's one of the coolest characters.
A couple years
so she probably had her hair back then, but Absolutely loved her in Fury Road. That was like one of my favorite fucking movies that came out of the 20 teens.
And they keep
I
it.
put that on my
Yeah.
put that on my channel. That was one of my favorite
Definitely.
movies of the 20 teens. Yeah.
I do on my website my favorite movie of the year. That one won, obviously, but
Oh yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful fucking movie.
they keep teasing that they're going to do the Furiosa movie. It's never going to happen.
Well, they're going to do the Furiosa movie with Anna Taylor-Joy, and if they're not doing it with Charlize Theron, I'm just fucking not interested. I'm sorry. I want more adventures with her,
Yeah,
not with somebody else playing her part. I've only
no
seen
reason.
her in one fucking movie.
Yeah, she's not.
Have her be in another movie first. You know,
can do that with Mad Max because we already got a trilogy.
You can, yeah.
Replace them younger because it's decades later. But
And you know how often has Mad Max like reused the same characters but changed their names? Remember the fucking guy with the guy with the jetty copter from fucking Road Warrior, and he was in Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, and the bad guy, who just passed away recently, Keenan Burns or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm fucking that name up. You know who I'm talking about. He was the toe cutter in the first one, and he's also Imperator. Not Imperator. Immortan Joe. He's Immortan Joe in he's got the fucking mask on. Yeah. He's awesome. So they just completely changed the name and different fucking character. But hey, he's in it again. But I would love to see, you know, Charlize Theron come back in another fucking Mad Max movie before doing a spinoff having some other actress play her. But regardless, this episode kind of sucked. I mean, I didn't hate it, but I was mostly bored watching this. Well, I agree with you. I think the whole having Charlize Theron on the episode was kind of a waste of time. And also, another thing that really annoyed me is like, really, dude, Seth MacFarlane and Charlize Theron? No. You know, Seth, you might be smooth, you might be cool, you might be funny, but you're not that cool. You're not that fucking cool. I'm sorry.
I guarantee
not buying it.
They either have or both want to, though. I do buy it because...
Okay. Like in real life, off screen kind of way?
Yeah. If you hear her talk about him, she gushes over him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You know what? That kind of almost makes it more annoying then. It's like you're using this episode as an excuse to carry on with the fantasy. You know what I mean? It's like you're blending the fantasy and the reality a little too close to the sun here.
Watch the interviews they did for A Million Ways to Die in the West. It is.
I hate that movie though.
She might as well have his dick in her mouth. It's all we really need to know, the biggest plot points I got away from this episode are she's from Massachusetts, just like he is, and her room doesn't smell like hamsters like they thought it would. That's how he distracts you from the time travel bullshit, by stupid little jokes like this. And then he's like, he talks about, for a really long scene where he talks about his wife and how he was working too much, and he's like, I'm just not ready, and we need to wait. And then immediately,
which we didn't need anyway, because we as the audience we've already been down that road. We know that story. We've heard it too many times already. Yeah,
it's all to do with the cartoon, which is what Seth's used to. The cartoon flip reveal of, we need to wait. Oh, I'm not ready. I need to wait. Or that they're in bed together. That's it. That's what the whole joke is leading up to. It ends. Let's get to the end and get over. So we go talk about Krill. She reveals what she's doing because she can control the thing that they have in the warp drive or the drive. She can basically control the ship from her wrist. And then there's a big chick fight with what's her name, Kelly and Pria, and then Kelly.
And I was expecting more from that too. That was like one of the worst fake fights I've ever seen. Like really sloppy, bad fake fighting. Like not just lame as shit.
It's like her.
This is the same girl that fucking did what was that spy shit that she did with she was in with Sofia Boutella. Charlize Theron can do action flicks. No, not Ian Flux. The one that came out I want to say a couple of years ago. Hold on.
I don't watch those kind of movies, so
it's not. I did. It's kind of like her version of John Wick. Hold
on. Oh, okay. You look that up. I'll talk about it.
Well, go ahead.
Kelly attacks her, and then everyone else just stands there and watches instead of helping. They're just like, They're fighting.
Nobody tries to break it up or get involved. It's like, no, we're gonna have a chick fight. Yeah.
And it let me down that because Star Trek you don't see that. I mean, in the original Star Trek you did, but only like last resort fight. This was like fuck it, let's punch her. I'm like, I wanted something smarter than that, because why they punch her is because Isaac, who died by touching something earlier, moved his consciousness into the ship, and this is supposed to be his practical joke that it didn't pay off, that he was in control of the ship the whole time. And he tells them by a little thing on the captain's chair that says Junior Mint Captain or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a text. It's their version of a text message
to the chair.
Oh, the name I was thinking of was Atomic Blonde. All right,
yeah.
Which it is good. All right, it's nonsense plot, great fucking action. You just watch it for the action scenes. It's her version of John Wick, and I think it's kind of supposed to be sort of in the same universe too. So
I've never seen it.
So she knows how to do action shit. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? She can do it one take. What the fuck was this?
Well,
did they just say, well, people like Charlize Theron, so we have to have an action scene? Because that's what this feels like.
It was an action scene where you give someone 20 minutes to prepare for it, because it's a TV show, and there's no stunt coordinators. From what it looked like, there was no stunt coordinators. I bet there is.
And you know what else this reminds me of, Phoenix? It reminds me of, remember when we had those old TV shows that came on in the 70s, and we had guest actor of the week? Ladies and gentlemen, the Harlem Globetrotters. This one is, ladies and gentlemen, Charlize Theron. And the whole episode just kind of like gushes over her in the meantime. It's
an episode of Murder, She Wrote, where when you see the guest star show up, you're like, it's that guy. So when she shows up, you're like, she's going to be back, because I know she's not in the series.
William Shatner is more convincing in Columbo than this. You know what I mean? It's like, he's the bad guy, but hey, that's what Columbo does, so
Columbo's a very underrated show. Peter Falk.
Oh God, awesome. I fucking love it. Those are very rewatchable too. If you haven't seen them for a while, you don't remember how it. I don't remember how I got this one, so you gotta sit and watch the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, it's basically a good version of Murder, She Wrote. Peter Falk is awesome, and he's got this thing going to get the fourth.
Yep, he's fantastic at it though.
He's a charming man.
Yeah, that show carried his career, just carried it. Yeah, because he owned it. Yeah.
They fight and they take it over and they get back there, and then Mercer has this really long speech about what I know we're supposed to be dead, but let's say you can't get back to your time, and then he reveals to her while he's in his office, and she's standing in front of his desk, that they're going to blow up the wormhole. And then she's like, you can't do that, and blah 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 blah. And then he does it, and she just vanishes. And I was like, I hate time travel now. Because that would reset everything. If she shouldn't disappear. This is the same thing I have with.
Then they shouldn't even remember her. Yeah, they should not even fucking remember her.
Else. Yeah. They should be dead.
This is time travel in the laziest fucking fashion I've ever seen in my entire life, because it's literally any time travel trope that they can get away with to fit this bullshit plot that they've constructed.
If Seth is going off the theory that blowing up the wormhole gets rid of everything that happened, which is why she vanishes, then everything else should have been changed too, because she would never have been there. That's according to you. But no, you're saying she leaves, but they're fine. And it's like, why are they choosing to be that? That doesn't make any fucking sense. It drives me crazy when people write time travel badly. It drives me insane. You should do time travel only as a subtle, like Donnie Darko has a nice time travel element to it.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't, because it's not the central focus of the plot.
And that's just it. You don't even know it's a fucking spoiler alert. You don't even know it's a time travel movie till like way into the fucking movie. And the way that they set it up, they don't just like cheaply fucking Deus Ex Machina it at the end either. They set it up to where this whole time it's been about this thing.
Yes,
and it fits. It fits like perfectly.
You find out it's time travel in like the second to last scene.
Yeah,
I mean they tease it earlier with the Back to the Future talk with Noah Wiley, but that's about it. Except the director cut has little cards that come up and talk about it, but which I get why people don't like that version. But anyway, that's the end of the episode. They blow up the wormhole, she vanishes, and they sit there like, I got to come in her. I don't know what the point of this was. I don't understand it.
I wanted to give this high marks, man, but yeah, by your grading scale, it'd be a 5 out of 10. By Raiders Lost Flicks grading scale, it'd be a 2 out of 5 cheese curds. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it ain't good. It ain't memorable. I didn't enjoy watching it a second time. The first time, because I was like all excited that Charlize Theron was there, but then I was just like, oh, well, that's just, And I think when I was watching these two, I was like marathoning them too. So
Oh yeah.
you quickly go into the next episode, and that quickly washes the stink of this episode off. You know what I mean? So.
And we would definitely be failing if we didn't mention that. Red Letter Media talked about this in their Star Trek episode, where this rips off the Next Generation episode with Max Headroom, where he comes from the past and sells future tech.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite way of time travel, and it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's the same episode.
Yeah. They did the same thing. They did a similar thing on, which is probably the one that they were talking about. They did it on Voyager, where they had an episode. They had 2-part episode with Sarah Silverman on there, and it was a guy that we're probably talking about the same one. It's I think it's Ed Begley Jr. or something, and he's selling fucking he's selling tech from the future, and he's like built his whole business around it. Maybe it's a different version.
This is Next Generation, the one with Matt Frewer.
Okay. There's one in Voyager too where they do the same thing. Some guy, it's like some Bill Gates kind of wannabe type spin-off guy, and he's built his entire tech empire around technology that he's stolen from the future.
I'm talking about this episode. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely a different episode. Yeah, because you said the Max Headroom guy, and I remembered him because I used to watch Max Headroom. Who the fuck didn't in the 80s? But
true.
Yep. So
can't watch it now. Though.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd enjoyed it at all, but
that's a product of its time. Yeah,
I'm gonna give this a 6. I didn't hate it. I liked parts of it, but
the most memorable scene for me is the Mr. Potato Head shit. Like, that's really it. Is that one little gag, and it probably went on longer than it needed to, honestly. But it was funny seeing him walk out in a Mr. Potato Head outfit. But that's it, man.
And they do a call back to the leg in the next episode.
Yeah,
that's. But yeah, I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say it's terrible. It does. It's so flatlined that I think they should almost remove it from the series. And
it's very meh. Yeah, if you were to walk into the show and this was the first one you ever saw, you'd probably never come back.
Yeah, unless you're not really into shows like this, then you'd be like,
I don't care. Yeah.
But so on your scale, I guess we'll give it a 2.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it a 3 out of 5. I'm not going that far. So, yeah, it's a show. It existed. Let's be done with it, right? That was Pria. LIWstudios.com for me.
RaidersLostFlakes.com for me.
So let's wrap up. Until next time, in the meantime, I'm Phoenix West.
And I'm Captain Adam Wilcox.
So long. Oh, sorry. Shut up your sign off. I'm so sorry, Captain. I'm so sorry.
That was another joke that kind of worked for me. Remember that they're saying, all right, the open hailing frequencies, and he starts talking. She goes, like, I didn't open them yet. Yeah. Oh shit, sorry. Is it open now? Can I say it now? Can I say the thing now? All right, well, this is the captain. Blah, blah. If that had ever been done in Star Trek, that would be funny, So
yeah, was that this episode or the next one?
That was this episode.
Okay, I thought it was when he's talking to the captain in the next episode.
Maybe it is. Maybe I'm blurring them together. Yesterday was an awfully long day.
Yeah. Well, anyway, bye.
Bye.
That ends the podcast. Let me save the podcast. And then we'll talk about...
Let me write this timestamp down.
But a better episode.
33:31. 33:31, because I'm going to chop these up and upload them. Okay. Done.
I'll be there in a second.
Good to go.
52% done. 60, 70, 70, 85, 90. All right, it's done. Let me check it. And thus begins another podcast. Makes any sense?
Yeah.
wstudios.com. All right. Saved properly. Let me see if it's going to record. Hey, it's recording already. Okay, we're on the next podcast. Yay. Let's begin. Welcome to LIW, the Orville Review, Episode 6 for 106 Krill. I'm Phoenix West.
Adam Wilcox.
I wanted some real awkward space in there for no reason.
Banner.
Thank you. I need banner alerts for. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
David Banner. David Banner was here.
I forget that we have to change it. I'm not.
Well, that's what I'm taking care of you, man.
I'm not a banner guy, you know.
Looking out for number one.
Damn right. Yeah. Welcome to this show. We're talking about Krill. We just finished talking about Pria, so let's talk about something that we liked. I didn't like the opening of this episode. I thought it was real stupid.
Walk us through the opening one more time, because it's been a while since I've seen
Bortis,
it.
They're all having lunch or dinner or some sort of third meal, maybe
That's right.
Taco Bell.
Okay.
And then they're eating some gelatinous thing, and then he gives it to Bortis, and he eats. What do you eat? The wrong part? I don't even fucking remember how it gets set up. It's basically just a series of them feeding him like glass and a cactus and just all this.
Because on Mocklin they can eat substances that don't have any like nutritional value or something like that. He can basically eat anything. It's one of his alien powers that they've revealed is that he can eat glass. He can eat a cactus, and they're having fun watching him eat things that people don't normally eat.
I love that you could tell they're holding the real item and then they hand it to him. Oh, the first one they get him to try that's gross is a napkin. He hands him a napkin, and the camera cuts behind Bortis, and it's clearly gummy. I was like, come on. And then same thing with
the sugar glass was the one that fucking got me. I'm like,
sugar glass is fucking hilarious.
I wonder what sugar glass tastes like. Don't you? Do you wonder if it has any kind of other flavor to it, or just
it's just sugar glass. It's so dumb.
Have you eaten it before?
No, never eaten it.
Okay.
I never thought to.
But aren't you curious? Just a little bit, like sugar glass.
Well, I've had like when they make cakes and they make things out of sugar. It's the same exact stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I was on a movie set and somebody wasn't looking, I'd probably grab if I had to jump through a sugar glass, like when nobody's looking, I'd be like.
You'd be the stuntman.
I would be that guy. I'd be like, holy fuck, it tastes just like sugar.
Can you not jump out the window like this? Nobody does that. It's supposed to be real glass, you realize.
Wait, don't waste that. I know a cake guy down the street. He'll pay good money for that. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the whole intro. And the only thing I liked about it was Bortis goes, I can eat almost anything. He goes, you can eat literally anything? And he goes, I can eat almost anything. He says the same thing because he doesn't want to say I don't know why I like that, but it was genuine to the character where he's like, that's not what I said. But he doesn't say it like that, like all shitty. He just goes, I can eat almost anything.
Almost anything. Yeah.
I had to look that deep to find something to enjoy in that scene, and that's what I got.
I was hoping that, again, that's the problem that kind of drives me nuts with these shows, is you're hoping that they're going to call that back later or put it as part of the plot. No, it's just a side thing.
The cold opens work on The Office, where it's a prank, and then you get the episode after the credits come back, and you can have a thing. But it doesn't so much work in a show like this, because we're used to structure, and we're used to this pays off this is setting up this. This goes fucking nowhere unless they're setting up something episodes down the line.
This show is a good example of somebody that's trying to have it both ways. It's like you can either be serious or not be serious, and it's like you want to have too much of everything, but not enough of the things that count. You know what I mean? So, but this is a good episode. We're gonna get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, since we're past the
getting our grievances out of the way early. Yeah.
Go ahead and set up the plot of the actual beginning plot of it. What gets them going here?
They actually encounter the Krill. They find some debris actually, and they find a ship that is disabled, and they capture the ship and they start studying some technology. And to make a long story short, they develop the ability to clone, like they have a holographic image that you can put over top of your entire body to make you look like a Krill. And they set up a mission where they're going to use this technology that they've just created to infiltrate a cruiser, and they're going to blow it up.
Yeah, they find the Krill blowing up like a colony on some planet. They show up there, and then they talk to them. They're like, stop shooting them. we order you. And then Kelly's like, how often does this actually work? And they stop shooting and they turn around. We see this shot of their ship is just like, the Orville is just like this big compared to this other ship. It's super tiny compared. And then they start shooting at them, and they have to do a bunch of fancy maneuvering and blow them up. But then they find that one of the ships is there, and that's the basic setup of that. They have a Krill ship, and then what you're saying there,
Mostly intact. I think like the drive's disabled, but it's not completely destroyed. There's no bodies in it or anything. They actually find the ship, and it's the closest they've ever gotten to their technology, to the best of my knowledge. So it's a big find for them.
Yeah, they're like the most secret race in this world so far. Nobody knows anything about them. All they know is that they have this book on every ship, and that's the plot. They have to go get their Bible, the Arcana or something like that.
Yeah, the only thing this show's told you about them is they are the bad guy.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm glad they didn't keep it. They're just the bad guy throughout the whole episode. You get a little bit more, but then they're still true to life at the very, very end.
Yes.
And that's what I like about this episode so much. But yeah, they have those cloaking devices which turns them into Krill. Krill are like white creatures, and the men have little horns right here.
They look pretty cool. They remind me of some of the better stuff I've seen on like Deep Space Nine or like Voyager, like some of that really good TNG makeup that they had. There you go.
Yeah, it's cool looking.
They're pretty legit, man. I like the way they look. They look kind of like bearded dragons.
It's kind of cool because we get to see Seth MacFarlane and Scott Grimes.
This is the first time we've seen Seth MacFarlane in any kind of heavy makeup. Same with Grimes, and it was cool seeing these outfits. I gotta say, are fucking awesome. I love these costumes.
They're all
the way
jacked
that they're
up.
built.
Yeah,
it looks like they're jacked up. Yeah, it looks like they're wearing like Marvel, DC type armor. You know what I mean? Like they spent some money on the makeup here in this episode.
Yeah,
and everybody's wearing this shit. I was looking for somebody wearing rubber masks. I didn't see any. I think everybody legit had makeup on.
It does.
Yeah.
That's good. So the men have like the horns. The women don't. Their heads are shaped a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
The women kind of look like I don't know, like snake creatures. But
they actually said something kind of funny with those horns too. They're like, "Well, where were you guys?" "Well, we were sharpening our chin horns. We were waxing our chin horns."
Yeah.
I like that. That was pretty. They timed it just right. They didn't like. That's the thing that drives me nuts about the show is like it's cool to do a joke, but move on past it and keep going. Not say, "Hey, did you like that joke that we just said? Hey, let's talk about that some more and see if we can extend the joke." No,
because we didn't have Lamar there to go. Let's point that joke back out.
Yeah. See that dog licking his balls?
Yeah. That's all I can stare at. Anyway, on the way over to the ship. While they're dressed as Krill, they play the same CCR song from the Twilight Zone movie intro. Do you remember? It's the same.
I was just thinking of that too when we were watching. It's like, it's the midnight special. Shine a light on me. And the guy who plays Grimes actually does have a good voice too. I've heard him singing. It's something that he does. So.
The guy that plays Malloy, Scott Grimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he sings on American Dad, I'm like, holy shit, dude! And that's doing a voice singing. I'm like. He can fucking sing.
He actually, and I'm not talking about this episode. In a later episode, he sings again, and he can hit them notes. Yeah.
He can get really high pitched in a weird voice and sing perfectly. It's kind of incredible because I can't. I have way too deep of a voice to hit any near.
I know what you mean. Like there's only certain octaves I can hit, and I don't attempt to try to I'm never going to do a fucking Joe Perry song ever in my whole life, or a fucking Freddie Mercury song. I know better, you know.
If I try to sing a Freddie Mercury song, it's going to be like a ship exploding on re-entry.
It's going to be me doing a very bad fake voice. Yeah.
It's going to get really whispery. I'm not going to get anywhere near it. Okay, they get aboard the ship. There's a little too much of this for my taste. There's a little too much of them talking like they're not really in the situation that they're in. Like they're trying to be aloof.
Yeah, they're padding. Yeah. It's definitely padding. Like they ran out of. We got to stretch this. Oh, they'll just do some talking on the ship.
But I would understand. Like they should try to be undercover. Like they're trying to, because it's really this episode ends up being like a spy movie is what they're doing. They're going there to infiltrate like a Mission Impossible thing, and they're going there to get information. They're going to get the book or take pictures of the book, which they end up doing, taking one at a time. But there's way
It's
too much
not
of that
even
going.
so much the journey there. It's just what they do with that time where they're
Yeah,
on that fucking ship, because they've done that to death in Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, uh, Voyager, where they have conversations on the way there, but it's usually something important that they're going to pay off later.
yes,
In
but
this
this is.
particular case, it's just like, we got to waste some time between A and B, so
I
let's
don't
just
even mean the time
say
waste.
stuff.
I literally mean the way they're talking. They're not even trying to blend in. They're going, "Oh, I was out there, playing backgammon with," and they're like, "There's not." That's an example, but it's shit that's dumb. And I'm like, they're not going to fool anyone. But instead, nobody blinks an eye.
And they also mentioned, like, oh, we should probably come up with some names. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you probably should have thought about that before you got onto the fucking spaceship and
it,
started heading towards the big spaceship. Like, you
it's like
probably should have filled in some backstories. Like, at this point, somebody on the ship would have arranged a dossier for you and faked a record and said, you are now this person.
yes.
If you really wanted to pull this shit off. But
It
this
seems
is the
like a really
Orville.
important mission that like they're sending them there as diplomats, undercover diplomats. In case you get discovered, here's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to harm them. There's your backup plan. But instead, it's like there's a fucking gas leak on the Orville, and they're all really dumb. And it's like, oh shit, we should probably have prepared something. It's like all the D- students going out on a rescue mission. It's so dumb. But it still didn't detract for me liking the episode. But
No.
they show up on the ship. They introduce themselves. They say their names are like Dust. I don't forget what the fuck their names were. Something starts with a D.
Devin and Chris.
Yeah, Devin and Chris.
Chris and
Like,
Devin, because they kind of did a little bit of a joke, like my name should be or something like that. Like they were trying to fucking do some kind of Klingon shit, and
Quinn
then
Faru.
ultimately they come up with Chris and Devin because
Yeah.
he's just Seth MacFarlane. He's just gonna Chris and
But
this
he's
is
just like,
Devin.
he's like, yeah, our ship got destroyed. Everyone but us. And he's like, everyone but you? That's weird because this is how the rest of the Krill talk. That's bizarre. How did you manage to survive? And they're like, yeah, we happened to be cleaning the shuttle, and it got blown up, and here we are. We're really mad about that. Oh, those Union guys. Oh, that's how they talk. And I'm like, can you try to blend in? I get the joke is that you're bad at that, but it goes on for the whole episode.
Again, this is kind of where the show is constantly wrestling between humor and wanting to be an intelligent science fiction, and it's these earlier episodes are proving that this is kind of more difficult to do than you thought it would be. You know what I mean? At least from what we've seen so far.
Well, what he should have done is wrote a serious script, and then go back and go, where can I infuse some humor? But instead, he
Right.
went, I want to write a funny show and sci-fi. Let's write that
Well,
together.
that's what I'm saying. If you
Could've been-
embrace the Star Trek, there's plenty of times where they tell jokes
Yeah.
on regular Star Trek, and they work because they put them in at times to give you a little bit of a breathing room, relieve a little bit of tension, and also to develop characters to give people personalities.
Some sort of disconnect with the humor.
Something, yeah.
Right now,
It almost feels like they have a grocery list of they have to have X amount of jokes per episode, and they're just filling in the blanks. Like in a case like what we're just talking about, clearly they didn't care. It's like, well, we got to get the joke out of the way. So
yeah,
I'm Chris, and this is Devin. If I would have wrote this, I'd have been like, I'm Chris, and this is Chris 2. That's what it still would have sucked. Yeah.
Chris number 2 or Chris also.
And then you could have played that off later and on. It's like just playing Chris. Yeah.
Like, where's Chris? Oh, the other Chris. I don't know.
You mean Chris 2? Well, yes, Chris
Chris
2. I mean Chris also. Yeah, you could have fucked with that. Yeah.
for Christopher. That's just an inside joke. Something I don't know. But,
Hey, Seth, hit us up. We'll help you write some of these jokes for you, buddy. No problem.
But
we will expect to be paid though.
they go to a church, and then they sit there for the church thing, and then the guy in the front there, the I don't know, the priest, whatever you want to call him, is just like, here's what I have, and he goes to a box and he pulls out a human head, and then he starts just stabbing it 1,000 times, and they can't hide. Like, oh, and like, how is nobody noticing them freaking out? It's too much of this going on, and it doesn't pay off.
No, It's
But
just
then
they're just jokes to hit the joke quota. Yeah,
I don't know if that was a joke. I think it was just
got a joke meter. Joke, 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 joke.
And then they
Nope,
all
still need
leave.
some more. Keep going.
Go
Yeah.
back. They go back into the room with the book, and they start taking single pictures. And it's like, I was like, this is gonna take forever. That book is like, Stephen King's The Stand, the unabridged version, where it's 2,000 pages long, and this is gonna take forever. Don't they have a way of scanning the whole book in the future? Something. Take the fucking book and leave. But no, they
Duplicate it. Yeah, like scan it. This is the future, right? You could have came up with some kind of copy the DNA of the fucking thing and recreate it. I don't know. Just
yeah.
It would be the first time that a Star Trek type show has bullshitted its way through a plot using scientific devices.
You're hundreds of years in the future. Do whatever you want.
One more isn't going to hurt anybody at this point.
Yeah, you don't want to go too far because then you're a fantasy show. No.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. I have magical reading powers. I absorb the book. No. But they get caught.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, they get caught and they walk out of the room, and then the priest is suspicious, so he goes and talks to the captain of the ship and says he wants them tracked. They go in late at night to get more pictures of the book. Guard shows up. They sneak around, get some Scooby-Doo hijinks. And really, just the rest of the episode is they find a bomb. Their thing shut off, so they figure out that there's something outside the exact same signal two floors below. They retune it, so they're Krill again. They go down, find out there's a massive fucking bomb there, and they're gonna blow up some colony with 100,000 people on it. You want to take over?
This is when the show starts getting interesting because they decide that they're going to ignite this bomb on the fucking ship, blow them all up. But they also say, "Hey, will you come in here for a second?" And they bring him into a room, and there's a room literally full of kids. Like they've got a school, like a classroom. One of the ladies that they befriend, it turns out she's actually a teacher. So these giant ships, like Star Trek Next Generation, have classrooms of kids, and they instant regret. They're like, we can't blow up a bunch of fucking kids. I can't do this. So now we have a classic Star Trek style dilemma. What do you do?
It's set up really well, though. This is actually a version of a good setup on the show, which I want to definitely take a pause because we always trash on them for not doing good setups. So here we go. The kids, one of them goes, "Do humans have souls?" And the teacher's like, "Definitely not. There's no souls there." So that's what Mercer's motivation is. I don't want to blow up these kids because I have a soul. I don't want to fucking just kill these kids because that sets a really bad example. And that pays off even further in the very end because it's like, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. They're still going to see you that way. But sorry. Just want to interrupt to say that.
No, go ahead. You're doing a better job than I was with this because I enjoyed this part of the episode. Once they finally got onto the ship and they started getting past all the jokey joke shit and they start getting into actual plot. And the Krill characters are interesting as fuck on the show. They're very well portrayed. They have their own. They set up their society nice. They explain that the reason that their pigment is light as it is because their planet is entirely engulfed in darkness the entire year, like every day of the year. So they're very sensitive to sunlight and light as it be because the ship is kind of darkened. And I just assumed that it was just kind of darkened because they always did that on Star Trek. Every time they go on the Klingon ships, always like dark and grimy in there. It doesn't look very clean, like they're not
random lights and weird.
Like the complete opposite of Starfleet. Starfleet's always like really white, and they probably wash the place 6 times a day, and then you go on this Klingon ship, and it's like there's probably a fucking human house. Head laying. Yeah, it's like a haunted house. Yeah. So, it's just, we're back in Klingon territory. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but the look of the ship. The first half of this episode, I was like, oh, okay, and I'm like kind of waiting for. I'm like, oh, going along for the ride, and then it starts introducing all this stuff. Like about the time he started taking pictures of the Bible, is when I started to get interested. I'm like, all right, they're doing something. Oh, it's like a spy movie. Okay, that's what they're doing. And then it's this moral dilemma, which is always going to be the best setup for an episode of this type of show. Moral
We
dilemma.
can never get enough moral dilemmas. We love the fucking moral dilemma. That's why we watch these kind of shows, because we want to see them overcome adversity through teamwork. And how do you achieve a moral dilemma, and who's right and who's wrong in these situations? And especially when you can see it from both angles, because like you said, well, they don't have any souls. It's like, well, that kind of fits, because throughout this entire series so far, we don't know shit about the Krill except they're the ugly bad guys.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out they see us exactly the same fucking way, which is totally accurate and appropriate.
They did it exactly how they should have. I have zero complaints about how they set up the Krill and how that all pays off. And I'm really looking forward to finding out what happens with the Krill based on the last thing the woman says. They
made them an interesting species other than just this is the throwaway villain in this universe.
Yeah. They're aboard the ship, like we said. They realize they go in another room and they're talking. And they're like, "What the hell are we gonna do? Like, we can't just kill all these kids." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's 100,000 people." He's like, "We got to come up with something else." And they kind of do the sci-fi tech babble where it's, if this is turning off our thing, our cloaking device in this frequency, can we reverse that? He's like, overload the power unit and blow the bomb up on the ship. We can do that from the escape ship that we took here. That's all set up. They realize they can change the lights, because that's when he starts to kind of realize they're white because they have zero pigment. He's explaining it to a child that snuck into the room.
They're overly sensitive to light.
Yeah. And then they're going to overload the lights. Only thing is they don't want to kill the kids. So he comes up with a plan to get the kids in the room. He's going to go in there and destroy the light. He goes to do that, and Mercer does. And then Malloy goes, and he's going to... Fuck, I don't know what he's doing, honestly. He gets caught, though. That's all I know.
Yeah, the plan that they come up with is they're rather than blow them all up, they're gonna burn them with a light.
Yeah.
And then protect kids, burn everybody else, pretty much. Like,
he's like, worst we get is a sunburn.
Yep. They get a sunburn. They won't die, but they'll be disoriented long enough to where they can, pull this thing off. So,
yeah.
The whole point is they don't want to blow everybody up, So.
Yeah, because the kids, why bother? But they're not our enemy yet. They will be. But Mercer goes into the classroom. She was just about to dismiss the class. He's like, no, stay here. I need to talk to you. And then Malloy gets caught by the captain, takes him there to the bridge. And then they do the light thing. And then it burns everyone alive, burns all the Krill alive, just gives Scott Grimes' character just a red glow.
They're vampire hunters. We're vampire hunters. I do remember that line, because it was all right. That didn't bother me. Yeah,
it's Blade.
That was a joke that actually worked. Yeah.
The UV lights from Blade, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it works, because they all burn and then they turn black and they're dead, and then the kids are safe. Just cuts to the Orville, and then Kelly's talking to the teacher lady. I don't remember her name. Doesn't matter. And then they're like, all right, the kids are all safe. And then Mercer comes into the room, and she's like, I can't believe you have the balls to face me, or the guts to face me. He makes them all leave. And he's just a couple lines. He's just like, don't be mad. She's like, where are the kids? And he goes, oh, they're safe. They're going to be sent back to their parents on Krill. And I was like, or their home, or what the fuck it's called. And I was like, wouldn't their parents have been on that ship? Now they're all dead. Is it just a ship of warriors?
I don't know. They kind of glossed over that, yeah. And I didn't even really think of it until you mentioned something now. So I would think that they'd all, if it's like the Enterprise, I hate to keep comparing to Star Trek, but it is fucking Star Trek, so you have to. But yeah, are they on the ship with the kids? You just send these kids off by themselves onto a ship to teach them? Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. So. But then
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, the teacher's like, why didn't you kill us? And he goes, they're children and they're not our enemy. She goes, I love this line. I forget the exact line, but she basically just goes, they're not going to be happy with the Union. They're going to remember this forever. Basically saying, yes, you saved these kids, but you've created an even stronger enemy now with these kids once they grow up.
He said they're not our enemies, and then she just looks at him real serious and says they will be. And it ends on that note. And it's weird because she kind of says it the same way that Yoda said it in Empire Strikes Back. And I know that was a callback, and it was a clever one because it ends on that line. So it's like you've ended your comedy sci-fi show on a serious tone, which teases for more and better stuff because this is what we like. Like, we don't mind a little bit of comedy here and there as long as it's more about where you use it, you know,
Yeah.
and how you use it. And what we're coming for is we want the fucking story. We want the moral dilemma. And that's why I was excited to do this show with you because I had warned you. First couple episodes are going to piss you off, and then it gets way better, you know, because it does. There's an episode coming up here real soon that I'm dying to talk to you about, and I'm not going to tell you any fucking thing about it. And I don't want you to look up anything about it because it's going to spoil everything. I want you to just go in as blind as possible. Yeah, this is one of those. If you look up any of episode 7 at all, it will spoil it for you. You just go in as blind as possible.
All I do, I don't want to know anything about the plots ahead of time. I just turn on the episode and I watch it, and then halfway through, I will look at the rating, or I don't know. Yeah. This time I didn't look up anything. I just took my notes and then I look it up now. When I did my ratings before we start recording.
But it's been hit or miss on the show, and it's just like we either love it or it's like you know what I mean? Like none of it's like really just like, oh god, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. You know,
I haven't hated an episode yet. The pilot was the weakest one so far. And then
pilot was weak, and the last one we did was not
Pria.
very good.
Yeah,
it wasn't crazy about that, but I didn't hate it. It was just flat. It didn't resonate. There wasn't anything memorable about it. But yeah, this one, if I had to give this one a score, I'd say 7 out of 10. If I was doing the cheese curd scale, probably a 3 out of 5. I really liked it. There are better ones than this one, but I did like the story and I like the moral dilemma, and I'm anxious to see, like you, more of the Krill. I like what they're doing with this species. You know, it's like they're giving them the same life that the Klingons had, but I think the Klingons on this show are Bortus' species.
Yeah.
So this is somebody completely different. This is like a new kind of a villain, and there's all kinds of uncharted waters that you can go with this fucking species too. Like there's a lot of really good writing you can do if you revisit this. So
they look more like the Klingons, but they act more like.
They actually remind me of one of the species of the Dominion from Deep Space Nine. They had the Dominion on there, and I can't remember exactly which ones they were, because the Dominion is actually made up of 3 different species.
Kind of Romulan.
One of them, not the Romulans. No, this is. I'll find out in a second here, because I just watched that not too long ago.
Let me finish. I'll do my score stuff later.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
I did give it a little more credit for how well they set up the Krill. I gave it an 8. So on yours, I'll give it a 4. I really do like this episode, but the problem is there's way too much of that bad undercover talk for me. It kind of ruined the beginning part. If this had as solid as a beginning as it did the second half, I would have probably given this a 9 or 10. But if you're looking at it as just the second half of the episode, it saved the whole fucking episode for me. It was so good, the ending. I really did enjoy this. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's the Jem'Hadar. That's what I was trying to remember, because the Dominion are made up of 3 different species. You've got the shapeshifters who run everything. The Jem'Hadar are pretty much the foot soldiers, and then you've got the kind of elf-like creatures that are played by Jeffrey Combs. They kind of call the shots. They're like the middle management. So these guys are the grunts because they're bred specifically to kill, and they have a very short lifespan. Like they live like maybe 10 years tops, and they're controlled by drugs. They use drugs to. They're dependent on a fucking drug, and if they're denied that drug, they literally can't even function. So they use these drugs to control this entire species. But
like
these Jem'Hadars right here remind me of the Krill. They look similar. Yeah.
Get them hooked on the smack. They'll do whatever you want.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, they're all hooked on smack. It was a really cool idea for a villain that hadn't been done yet. So, but I'm anxious to see what they do with the Krill. We've gotten a taste of it. This is a pretty good setup episode for a villain that we know virtually nothing about, and I'm anxious to see where that goes.
Yeah, so. I probably like that other episode more. I already forgot what it's called. The one with oh my god, I'm blanking on everything right now.
It's been a while since we did an episode.
Bortus's people. I like that episode more. Probably
that was called About a Girl. Yeah,
I like that episode more.
Yes, I do too. That one is I rank a lot higher than this one because I think so of what's come out so far. That one was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it the same score, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I should give this a 7, but I'm sticking with 8 because I like the second half and I like the setup of Krill so
Stick to your
well.
guns. It was the first number that popped in my head. I'm like, it's a 7. It could have been a little better in spots, but I liked what they had. I liked that we at least got a moral dilemma. It took a while to get there, but it was still there, and I appreciate it for all it is. I you know, a lot of fans say the same thing, and I'm going to echo what they say. The show's better when it's being Star Trek.
Yeah.
When it's trying to be Family Guy or American Dad, it just kind of doesn't really work.
Let those jokes be on your joke shows.
Yeah. It's okay to have those jokes, but it doesn't have to be the focus of your, because what it does is it confuses, because it's like you want to go one way and then you got this thing distracting you, and it's like, well, am I supposed to do that? You know what I'm saying? I think what he wants to do is he wants to be John Landis, and John Landis pulled it off perfectly with American Werewolf in London. Not everybody's as clever as John Landis is. You know what I mean? Like, only he knew the right balance between horror and comedy. Now you're trying to do sci-fi and comedy, and it's like you want to have that balance, but clearly you're not that talented to get there yet. So it's like you need to commit to one thing or another. He doesn't have that balance. You need to have more serious and less jokes, which would make it more Star Trek. Yeah.
Like, you can use a sitcom to land really heavy dramatic moments. Like Roseanne did that perfectly, the original show.
Another one that did some really heavy issues too was Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince used to have a fucking moral lesson every week, and they had some really heavy ones on there.
Yeah, and also Scrubs had some, and that's just a joke show. And then suddenly you'd be like, "Oh my god, what the fuck!" Like,
All in the Family, which was fucking steeped in politics, and that was real popular for a long time because it hit everything. It dove headfirst into the politics and was successful. So.
But you have to set up your characters for enough time, and then you get the dramatic moments. This show, the first half of the episode is all the jokes. The second half is all the serious resolution, and it almost feels like the episode begins halfway through for these episodes, which sucks.
Yeah, it's like you it's the result of two different things. It's like either it's like being in a relationship with somebody who can't commit. You know what I mean? It's like you can't seem to get enough of one thing. You know what I mean? It's like either commit to the comedy and call it a comedy, or commit to the science fiction. I get you want to be clever with science fiction, and I like some of these story plots. They're good. Even if they're stories that we've heard before, you can still be clever with it, like this one. It's good. You know what I mean? So,
would it surprise you to find out Seth MacFarlane did not write this episode?
Not one bit. Because the last one, it didn't surprise me one bit when you said Seth MacFarlane wrote that. I'm like, that explains a lot. This is gratuitous. Seth MacFarlane is worse. Like,
and this one had a joke later on where Scott Grimes gets stabbed in the leg by the people that capture him, and he goes, "Oh, that's a new leg," and I laughed, and I was like, they did a callback
because it's a nice callback, and they didn't have to like drive it any farther than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's a new leg. You messed up a perfectly good new leg.
And they moved on. But great episode, and I'm looking forward to future Krill episodes, like we said. This is a good, I don't say Bible, but it's a good universe expanding episode, and I want to see where this goes with this. I want to see where our crew goes from learning about this. And I like the fact that they left it on a really sour note. He didn't go, I have a soul, and that's why I didn't care.
No, we didn't do the Friday the 13th, the serious thing where we had to end on it on a lame joke,
Not even a joke, just him explaining why he did what he did. Instead, he just stares at her like, "Oh, you bitch, you're still going to come after us." It doesn't matter what I say right now. It's just sour, the ending. And it's
do like the Andy Sedaris thing where they always end on a champagne toast,
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here, Adam.
Yep.
Good episode. I will just say LIWstudios.com for me.
RaidersOfLostFlicks.com for me. Raiders Lost Flicks on YouTube. Raiders_OTLF on Twitter. If you want to give me a follow.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. So until next time, in the meantime, I'm Phoenix West.
I'm Adam Wilcox.
So long, citizens. So long, Krill.
So long, Orville.
We're halfway through season 1.
And there's the best is yet to come.
Podcast is over.